Hello, everybody. Welcome back to BareRose Garage on another Sunday. Oh, looks like we got a few people piling on in. Dean Stevenson, you swung right on in there. That was a pretty cool live you had last night. I caught a little bit of that. Really neat stuff, man. All you is check out his rewatch if he's got it up. It's pretty neat. I ain't gonna give nothing away. Philip the Third. What's going on? I put on my shorts tomorrow and won't take them off until November. Dadgummit. It's flat cold here today. It's been raining most all day long. We've been down in the 30s and 40s. In fact, 40s has been kind of warm here. But this week it's supposed to finally break open and we're finally going to get some spring weather again. They're saying 65. That's pretty good around here. Slow Shopping Custom. What's going on? Aloha right back to you. Great to see you. Let's see. Anybody else here I didn't miss here? Bruce Coltington. Tunnel Rams and Spacers. The way of life right there. Best way to install a carburetor is up above the hood. It makes it so much easier to work on it that way. You don't even have to lift the hood open to adjust your carburetor if it's up above it. Twisted Mopar. Always great to see you, my friend. So, what's everybody been working on there? Oh, here we got Justin Hill or Bonnet Auto. Bonnet Auto. Hello, just Bonnet Auto today. But still Eric behind the keyboard. Oh, I got you. That's that's our good friend Eric over in Norway. Great to see you, my friend. Yeah, you snuck in under a different channel name. JD's Vintage Auto. Always good to see you, my friend. He gets to play with all kinds of cool stuff. All that really neat old stuff. And of course, we got Cousin Mike in the house, man in the trusty wrench. He was over here earlier today and was sitting around yapping it up in the shop a little. Too dang cold and wet and miserable doing much anything else. Justin Hill, what's going on just above me there? Terry Grover and the Grover boys, what's going on? Happy Easter. That's right, it is Easter now, isn't it? I've been bacheloring it for the past week, and I guess I'm going to be bacheloring it for the next week as well. The wife is off to work over in Oregon. So I'm home alone with frozen burritos and a hot cup of cowboy hand warmer. That gives me time to get stuff straightened up and getting ready for spring. I'm working on more videos on the Mystery Small Block. Sure, way cool. What a mutt. That's generally what you run into with a Chevy. That was the whole premises of that video I did on how to identify them. Because with a Chevy, you never really know what it is until you tear all the way into it. In fact, my dad always told me the VIN number, the casting numbers, especially a VIN number on the vehicle, he said, don't pay that any attention whatsoever. If it's built from the 79 all the way down, he said that VIN number up on the dash or under the hood or wherever they put that VIN number, and when it comes to the engine and everything, it don't mean hardly squat. Take it with a grain of salt. All that'll tell you is what was supposed to be in it, not what's in it now. And with Chevys, because every part will fit any part, by the time you get your hands on it, you have no idea what other people have done to it. JB's Little Shop. Howdy, everyone, working on my truck. Oh, you're out there working on the trash truck, huh? Way cool. Always good to see you. Yeah, whole slow shop. He's over in Sweden, right next to you. And he's got some really cool stuff too. I loved your Y block video. Just got my wife's International Harvester 1110 running. Oh, sweet. The engine was seized up in it, huh? Those old Internationals, good Lord, it's hard to hurt them. Those things were made to run and run and run. Honestly, I think they are the most dependable, but they're kind of hard to find. And if you do find them, well, they're kind of hard to get parts for too. And their pickups always kind of reminded me of Elmer Fudd for some reason. The way I don't know who did it first. It was either Dodge or International, but they had that really tall, I guess they call it a pilot house style cab. Real tall for maximum visibility in a pickup. But International kind of kept that going all the way through the 60s. So it kind of cartoony looking pickups. So I always kind of, as a kid, I always related them to Elmer Fudd. I'm working on my British Cromwell tank, huh? Wow. Making new tracks for it. Like I said, you got to go check out Slow Shop and Custom. Yeah, he's got some extremely cool stuff going on. I gave Kim my mutt. Yep, and it definitely was. If you go off the casting numbers on it, it's a 4-bolt main 350. But when I opened it up, no, it's a 327 4-bolt, which don't exist. So somebody put a 327 crank in a 350, which is actually pretty common. That's an RPM build. You drop the cubic inch for the RPM. You see that a lot with like circle track cars and stoplight to stoplight racing. They'll drop down a size. It has to do with piston speed at RPM. The shorter the stroke, the slower the piston's actually going in there, and the more it'll handle RPM. That's why modern engines have short stroke. And the tighter you can wind them, the faster you can spool a turbo. Strokers don't make good turbo builds, or I should say they don't make easy, affordable turbo builds. Let's see, I get to yakking there and I let the chat go. Hey, there's Turbo Tom. My daughter got me a channel sticker for Easter. Sweet. You got one of the best looking logos right there. I love that logo. Scarlet the Four-Eyed Cuda. VIN code says it should have a 454, but today it has a PB&J sandwich. Ain't that the truth? That's why my toes always curl up when somebody says numbers matching. Yeah. The only numbers I care about are the numbers that match the ones in my wallet. I have a 1928 Roadster for the Y block. Oh, sweet. That's kind of cool. That is one cool little engine. And for the day, you know, that it wasn't that bad on power. And if you do Mr. Y-Block's trick and pull those two, the one up on the front on the passenger side and the one in the back on the driver's side, those little drain back tubes, pull those suckers out and throw them away and tap out that oil galley for a 1/4 bolt, and you know, just a little bitty little short bolt, and screw that in so those rocker shafts will actually pressurize. Then you'll get oil onto all your valves, and yeah, works a whole lot better. Oh, Ford Y-Block. Oh, they forgot to put the cap on the end of the sprinklers. But if you do that, boy, that engine will double in life, longevity. That's the #1 thing you can do to a Y-Block. JV's Little Shop. Did you know that Justin is only 36 miles over the hill from BareRose? Yep. And it's not much of a hill. We're down in the valley. 345, had to rebuild the cylinder head. Way cool. Let's see. Let's get her caught up. Oh, can't forget RC Industries. Right there. What's going on, Eric? Good to see you, man. And Miss Colleen Tivo slid right on in there. Glad to hear you're doing okay. I guess somebody tried to crawl up into the back of her little minivan. Whew, hit her pretty good, banged up pretty. Yeah, but like I said, I'm glad you're doing okay. Hopefully the insurance company get that all figured out. Travelogues are cool. Oh boy, they are. My cousin, always called her my Aunt Kelly, but she was actually a cousin. She's the same age as my dad, and they are very close. So I always called her my aunt instead of my cousin. But anyway, her husband had a Travelog, and they used it to haul a Airstream camper, and they'd come down from Seattle, Washington area here to Idaho every summer and spend a couple of weeks here. And he told it all around with that international Travelog. He actually worked for International. So everything he had was international. Mopar Nut 62. What's going on? Right back to you. Happy Easter. You know, I actually forgot this was Easter Sunday. I should have put it in the description, but I guess when you turn this old, you know, holidays just kind of slip through your mind. Lord, I know, because I'm one of those kind of people that usually does my Christmas shopping on December 24th. Not because I'm a procrastinator, because it's not on my radar, and all of a sudden, uh-oh. Can we use a jet engine as a turbo? I happen to know somebody that's got a hold of a jet engine for a generator. Now that would be some forced induction there. Actually, what I've always would like to do is run both. Run a centrifugal, like a Paxton supercharger, and run it with a turbo. Use the centrifugal and run it on like an electric pulley, like like an AC does. You know, when you throw the ground to complete the AC compressor, it locks in the pulley and it spins it. Run a supercharger off of that. So when it picks up and put the boost control from that wire, that ground, that's what they are, like a York. It's just a ground wire that comes off. When it completes it, it lights it off, or sends the current to the electric magnet. Get too technical, just cut to the chase. But run that to your boost reference. So when the turbos pick up and start spooling up and you get boost off of it, it cuts off the supercharger, which is pulling away from your horsepower, and then the turbos kick in, and then you build your boost off of that. Run them in unison like that. Then when your boost drops, it kicks that supercharger back on through the centrifugal, and then you pick up on your low end. So you, in my theory, you keep a nice flat curve all the way up through the RPM scale. Or it could be completely full of it, and that's a whole lot of extra plumbing to blow an engine up. But, you know, it's all fun. Oh, no, your 351M went to a new home? Oh. A lot of people think that the M stands for modified, but it's actually just the way that Ford classified it to separate it from the Cleveland. The little 335 series. They're actually an okay engine. That's too bad. That was the one in your LTD. The problem with them is there's very little aftermarket support, if any, for those and the 400s, because they're the same engine family. But if you just want a good heavy torque Ford engine, the M's, they're not too bad. You just can't play with them. You can't do other things to them. That kind of ruins it for the hot rod crowd. You can get 400 horsepower out of an M. Like I said, they just don't have the easy bolt-on, open up a Summit catalog, point to the picture and say, I want that. They don't have that kind of support with them. For that, you got to go with the 302. The 302 Ford is almost like a small block Chevy. They make anything and everything for that little mighty mouse. Let's see, we'll get caught back up in here again. The last of the International Harbor Store light line pickups was 75. Yep, and we had a 72. I think it was a quarter ton. Had torsion bar front end, like a lot like a Chrysler, and it was a super light truck in a little short box, but the front end was completely had in it. We got it from an exterminator, a guy that chased bugs around. And that was his bid truck. He'd go around and light service work and stuff like that. He lived on the other side of the block from us, and it sat out in his grain field for so long. And he finally brought it over to the shop to have us look at it. But the front end was so far gone. And because it was the torsion bar, ultra light one, getting parts for it was pretty hard and pretty spendy. So he just canned it, and he ended up giving that truck to us. Motor in it ran good. Had a 304 in it, if I remember right. I drove a 74 Travelall in high school. Everybody thought it was a Humvee. Wasn't the rack a torture advice? Better than a Humvee, Landon. That diesel that they put in the Humvee, yeah, granted, it was probably the most dependable in the military at the time, but yeah, it's hard to beat an international. What was theirs? 348, I think it was. And then they had the 390, 396. We had a 61 international cav-over wrecker, old school wrecker that we used quite a bit. And it had the 396 in it, 394, 390. I know it's not a 396, but it's real close in numbers to that. And I can't remember right offhand what it was. Good little wrecker, though. And like I said, those things would just run forever and ever and ever. Had a little itty bitty little 2-barrel carburetor on it. I think it was a Stromberg, matter of fact. I didn't forget, I spent yesterday filling plastic eggs with candy. We never did do that as a kid. We always used real hard-boiled eggs. And yeah, come August, you found where the ones that come up missing were. Whew, good Lord, they stink. She never hit the brakes. Geico screwed you. Yeah, like most insurance companies do. But I know how to make good things out of a bad situation. We cloned my minivan. Check out the short. Oh, sweet. An internal combustion with a turbo is a jet engine starting its combustion chamber with internal combustion engine. Hard to forget Easter in Norway. Shops are closed Thursday and Friday. Wow, you guys have a long holiday on it. Only a few hours on Saturday and Monday. And tomorrow are also closed. Holy cow, that's like Christmas for you guys. Yeah, Easter here is, it's just not really high up on the scale. Here it's pretty much 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And then all the other ones are just kind of mixed in here and there. Supercharger and a turbo. Yeah, I've been rattling that around in my noodle for quite a while. One of these days, I'm going to make it happen. But first, I've already got a turbo. I've got a couple of them. But coming across one of them centrifugal superchargers on the cheap side, that ain't so easy. Actually, yeah, because and not just that, but Mad Max as well. And they got a Roots blower. Yeah, a Roots blower, a real blower, on his, I think it was a 383 in that Ram Charger. I think it was a Ram Charger, or was it a Plymouth Duster? I think it was a Ram Charger for Lone Wolf McQuaid. Anyway, it's got a Roots blower on there, and then he flicks the switch and it lights it off and it's taken off. Yeah, right. When I first seen that on Mad Max, because Mad Max does the exact same thing. If that blower ain't spinning, that car ain't running. But when I first seen that on Mad Max, I told my dad, "Oh, that's neat." And my dad said, "Yeah, that's Hollywood." So it's always been in the back of my mind. And then when I seen those, superchargers, and then, yeah, got the idea that you could hook them up off of a magnetic pulley. Yeah, okay, you could do something like that. And then that, of course, that just morphed into, combining it with the turbo. Movies, they're they're just, yeah, the stuff you see in the movies is just the movies. But I'm still proud to say I was from the generation that we learned all of that bull crap in the movies by going out and trying it ourselves. And when we picked ourselves up and brushed ourselves off and patched up the broken pieces, yeah, we figured out you can't do that stuff. That stuff in real life really hurts. I remember Bullet. Everybody knows the chase scene in Bullet. And you see that big old Chrysler, that big old Mopar jumping. Yeah, I decided I could do that in a 76 Thunderbird. The big bird. Those are the monster size big, huge Thunderbirds, as big as they got. Almost the size of a Lincoln. Yeah, if you work the throttle just right, you can get them to land straight. But if you mess up just a little bit, oh my goodness, that hurts so dang bad when you come down in a big car like that. Years ago at Freeman Park, yeah, I'm going to give out some secrets here, but the statute of limitations is well over. Right where they built the Vietnam Memorial now, it wasn't there then. It was just it was actually just a grassy spot out by the river in Idle Falls there, with a road that went around through it. Well, there was a section in the road where it would dip and then it would launch up and they'd dip again. If you hit that just right at about 60, 55, 60, you could suck the car down as it went down like that, and it would launch you straight back up. You get some pretty good air off of that. I killed 2 Toyota pickups doing that. Like I said, the stuff we seen on TV in my generation, we went out and did it and found out, yeah, there's a lot more to it than just turning the camera on and going for it. Yeah, it was my LTD, but that went to a new home. That was a pretty good looking little car, though. Well, it wasn't too little, but that was a good looking that car you had. That was the one you took to the No Names last year, right? You can use 352 FE flat top pistons in a 351. I didn't know that. That's what I love about this YouTube stuff. I'm always learning stuff. Somebody needs to come up with a tough clutch system for a pulley for a blower. Yeah, the 351M it's just a tall deck Cleveland for the most part. There's other minor differences. If I remember right, the motor mount bosses are different. The 351Ms use their own motor mounts, the way that the bosses are cast into the block. Yeah, they're different than the 400. My neighbor's got this a 400 in his high boy. My neighbor right next to me. 162 projects. What's going on? Great to see you. And right back at you. Happy Easter, man. I'm going to have to put that up on a little ticket taker there because, yeah, I forgot. How about a Ford GAV8 for a hot rod? The 351M M400 had a retiming cart, timing gear. Yep. So did the 460 and the 70s 429 as well. All of them did that. But unfortunately, Ford was the first on the bandwagon. They were the first to do it. So that's why in the 70s, even through the 80s, you didn't hear a lot about big block Ford. And actually, until the Fox Body Mustang with the 302, the 5-liter, that's when Ford started to really come back towards the scene, because they did. In the early ones, I think it was 8 degrees retarded, and they started that in like 71. And it went farther, and they retarded it clear out. They put Chicago style pizza pistons in them, big deep dish, no compression, run on anything. And that's why they did it. When they pulled the lead out of our gas and we started using more of our own oil instead of the premium oil you can get from Saudi, octane levels started to take a dive again. And yeah, so all of the manufacturers, they scrambled to protect themselves. To keep an engine out of detonation is what they're afraid of. You run 11-to-1 compression on 80 octane fuel, yeah, bad things start happening. And like I said, Ford was the first to start doing it of the American, big three. Not on top of that too, they were all plastic timing gear sets, retarded straight from the factory. Oh, which reminds me, Black Lab Garage. Yeah, Black Lab Garage. He just put a video out. I think it was his newest one. I was catching up on a few videos last night, but he just did one on an easy way to identify if you've got a retarded Ford or a straight up Ford. And you can tell just by looking at the crankshaft, the keyway on the crankshaft. Really good video. And if you like big block Fords or any Fords, he's really good. Go check out Black Lab Garage. Buddy had a 79 Bronco with timing gears and a hot cam and a 4x4, hauled 120 miles per hour all day long. Yeah, and that was the simplest, easiest fix for them retarded Fords. You just pull that timing set out, and you either order a straight up one, or if you had a 385 series, 429, 460, you got the timing set for a 68 or 69 429 and stuck that timing set on your 460. It set that sucker back up straight up timing, and holy cow, hold on, the increase in horsepower, it just blow your mind. It put it back to what the engine was supposed to be until they had to retard it. 392 International. Thank you. Yeah, wasn't 396, 392. Thank you. That is a cool engine because it's an air gapped intake on the 392 International. It screams for hot rodding, but with that, there is zero aftermarket support. So if you want a hot rod and international engine, good luck. It'll make for some good content because there's nothing out there for them. 750 horsepower from an M or 400 block if it's not cracked. It's a tall deck Cleveland without thin walls and 3-inch bearing. Yeah, I knew about the 3-inch bearing caps. Up to 1/4 of an inch and up can be converted to 4-bolt main. But the 2-bolt will hold at 700. I'll bet you the 2-bolt will hold that okay. With the 4V heads, 750. A lot of people put too much emphasis on the number of main cap bolts. Jims, if it ain't broke, fix it. Dependable like a Plymouth Slant 6. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the Slant 6, though, is it leans way over, and they put the distributor on that lean over side. So trying to get to the timing or that, it's not the easiest thing on a slant. Now, straight up 6, oh yeah, oh, I love them things. You can crawl right down inside there, sit down, take a nap, eat some lunch, and change spark plugs at the same time. Especially if you combine that in one of those older Dodge pickups, the swept sides. Oh man, I love those. In fact, 57 was the first year that Dodge did that. They had the hood that opened all the way up. God, that was beautiful. You could pull the engine, leave the transmission on the engine, and pull it all out of the hole and not have to take the hood off. Ah, it's beautiful. And on the swept side pickups, the inner fenders are nice. They've got these nice little bead rolls in them on the top, and they're nice and flat. They make perfect tool holders. I love the Dodge trucks for that. Hood that opens all the way up. Nice little level places to hold your tools while you're working on them. Oh, it's just beautiful. That truck was invented and designed by a mechanic. Oh, thanks, Colleen. I sure appreciate that. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. You know, it don't hurt me none. The stock 351M and 400 2V heads flow 206, but drop valves due to the 2-piece valve stem. Yeah. You can get spacers for the 4V heads to adapt the 4V Cleveland intake. Oh, cousin Mike, that's brutal. That's like playing the Hunger Games at the retirement home, huh? I had a 351 drop a valve and got me home. Then I swapped the head and kept driving it. Those 335s were a good, dependable engine. Well, my neighbor's, good Lord, it's bone stock, and he has drove the ever living heck out of it. He even used it to move up here from, he's from California. Used it all over down there. And he, well, he's kind of retired it now. That's the truck that, that's the truck he can always depend on. He's always got a brand new pickup, but, he started with a Ford. The one he's got now is a Chevy. But these modern ones, he's had nothing but troubles. But the old Ford sitting out in the backyard, parked up next to the shed there, hop in it, pop the key over, that sucker will fire, and boom, off you go. Detroit used a turbo and Roots type on their diesel V8s. I know they had the Roots on them. I didn't know they comboed them up, though. That's cool. I used to work on a 49 or a 50. No, it's a 49 Allison Chalmers WD-50 crawler. Big bulldozer. Thing's freaking huge. But it's got the 671 blower on the side of it. In fact, I think that's the first ones. The Roots blower was designed for Allison Chalmers. And then a bunch of hot rodders looked at that and said, hey, that's pretty cool. I know that's where the numbers come from. 671 means it goes for a 6-cylinder diesel engine. 471, 4-cylinder. Ram Charger for Norris. It was a Ram Charger. The Trail Duster, oh, a good friend of mine had one of them. They were only around for what, 2-3 years? The Ram Chargers, though, they kept them around. They were identical. It's just one had a Plymouth badge and one had a Dodge badge on it. But his Trail Duster, it had like the hockey stick graphic on it and all that, and fancied up stuff. 1970s. It was even that dirty yellow color with the white hockey stick stripe on it. The 3800 engines with supercharger would barely move if the charger wasn't turning. And that's the way with most of them. Oh, Lord. Even a diesel engine, you take, these pickups and stuff, diesels didn't really take off until they started turbocharging them. You pull that forced induction off of them, go back to 1985. What was that? That Oldsmobile 350 diesel engine that they put in Chevy trucks, GMC trucks, Cadillacs. Good Lord, was that thing slow. And it was like pushing a slug down the street with a snail without any turbo on it. Especially an automatic transmission with it. It just, was a horrible combination. But if you found one of those automatics and you pulled the torque converter out of it, that was an old school 80s way of, getting a good stall, for an automatic for cheap, because the automatic diesel had a high stall in it because it had to get up there and spin a little bit more to get that thing to move. That was back, when torque converters were unattainium priced. Nowadays, you just they torque converters have come so far since then. In other words, it's what we did back then that you don't do now because we had to do it back then. If you absolutely had to have an automatic, because the other biggest way to fix it was to pull that slush box automatic out and stick a standard in it. I turned the AC on and this whole car just came alive, I swear. The Agura SC14 was used on the Toyota Previa supercharged MPV. Oh, sweet. We didn't get any of them around here. You guys over there get to play with all the cool stuff. It's a 2-blade supercharger that allows air bleed. Old McDonald has a car. Great to see you and happy Easter to you. And thanks again, everybody, for reminding me it was Easter. My channel name should have been 8 Degrees Retarded. 8 years, the 5.0302 had no camshaft to speak of. Yep. 220 horsepower, and that was pushing it right there. Most of them was about 100 and anywhere from 185 up. Yeah. Even, everybody talks a whole bunch about the Fox body Mustangs now, but when you bought one and rolled it right off the showroom floor, yeah, they barely, they didn't even crack 200 horsepower in the late 80s there. And even in the 90s, their horsepower was there was nothing really to shake a stick at. Of course, nothing was back then, but you could unlock it and you could get a lot more out of it. That's just rolling it right out of the showroom floor. They had very lackluster performance. But in one afternoon, you could step that sucker right up. Because of the whole open chamber and dish pistons actually caused detonation. Sweden had 91, 95, and 98 octane gas in the 80s. Great for high compression and advanced timing. And we got it right back. The big scare didn't last, but it took the car companies a long time to pick it back up. In fact, the gas we had in the 80s was actually better than the gas we got now. Look at them now, higher compression. Yep, like my wife's car. Especially if that's what it is. It's a little 2.3, little 4-cylinder with turbocharger on it. But because of that, you got to run 91. It says 90 and above octane on the filler spout. But if you run it on cheap gas, yeah, she'll ping a little, and that sends the computer to pull all the timing out. And yeah, they run like crud. You don't notice it in the city when you're just stop and go, stop and go. But out on the freeway, it cuts her mileage in that little edge. Oh, she's lucky to get 20 miles per gallon running on regular gas. We only ran it on regular gas once, and it was actually on the way to Sikeston. For some reason, Nebraska does not like octane, or at least on I-80, Interstate 80. We pulled over to get gas in there, and the highest they had was 84 octane. So I stuck that in it, and oh Lord, like I said, we were lucky to get, I don't even think it was 20 miles per gallon out of it. But you run 91 and above octane in it, premium, it gets about 30. On the freeway, that's total constant freeway driving, because that's mostly what that car does. Very little in town. It out here in Idaho, it's you spend a lot of time on the road getting from one place to the next. Whoa, I was way behind here. Like I said, that happens. I just sit here and I'm talking, and my chat side here, it pauses, and then whoa, boom. Sorry if I missed anybody here. It looks like we got Bad Attitude C10 slipped on in here. The other Blake. What's going on, brother? Great to see you. Mohawk 62. Great to see you, my friend. I hope I didn't miss anybody else there. Tim Windsor. Always great to see you, man. Okay, all right. I think we're caught back up. I'm guessing they put peanut oil in the gasoline to make it go round further. They claim that that's what what's his name? Oh, something Rudolph Diesel. That's what Rudolph Diesel used to fire up his diesel engine. He's the inventor of the diesel engine, and it was originally made to run on peanut oil. The closer you get to peanut farmers, the lower the AKI or octane at the pump is. Oh, really? So I guess I'd have to stay out of Georgia then. Hey, there you are, functional. What's going on? Did I miss you there? Like I said, the chat, I get to yakking and I forget, and the chat freezes, and I hope I didn't miss you. But you squaws in there and I got you in. Yeah, they did. I've actually seen pictures of that car. That is pretty cool. And that was about the time that my personal hero, and everybody talks about the big engine builders and stuff. My personal favorite was Fred Offenhauser Jr. And he was racing against that car about that time. The old Offenhauser 6, dual overhead cam in the 20s. That looked Jaguar. almost copied that engine part for part, and that's where the Jag XKE and all of that engine came from. You can, if you set the two side by side, it's hard to tell them apart. But that was Fred's design. He designed that in his machine shop. Fred and Augie. One of these days, when I get to, uh, it's a suburb of Los Angeles, not Compton. I was about to say it, but anyway, he's buried. Fred Oppenhauser is buried there. One of these days, I'm gonna be able to get there and leave flowers on the grave, or I don't know, maybe a 9/16 wrench on his gravesite there. Show some, give some respect back to the man. Oh, he was so cool. He reminded me of every machinist I know too. Uh, he did not want anything to do with the race. He wanted to stay in his shop and just build, 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 build. And I guess the hardest thing to get Fred to do was to go to the track and actually be at the track during the race. And he always had something else coming. And in fact, that's why he sold all of his rights to Offenhauser aftermarket parts and stuff right shortly after it started, because he said it took too much time away. He wanted to stay in his machine shop and just build engines. That was pretty cool. I can relate to that. Oh, sweet. Got a premiere coming up in 3 minutes? Way cool. I've been to the Indy Museum on the infield of the track. If you get a chance, go. One of these days, I would love to go to Indianapolis, see the brickyard. The way I understand it is there's not much of the bricks left. They're just what, the finish line, starting line, finish line, just a little segment of the track that's still brick. Pierce Arrow had a dual overhead cam 400 horsepower engine in that era. Yeah, you get back into there and it's really cool to see what they were doing then, because a lot of the newfangled stuff that's coming out now, people thinking, oh, this is revolutionary. Look at this brand new, whatever. You see it back then. It's just they've refined it to the point that it's, viable now. Too many people with peanut allergies now. It could be a mess if they got some of their hands. Oh, Lord, yeah. Can you imagine running a diesel engine on peanut oil and having to take your kids to school? Good Lord, they'd arrest you right as soon as you pulled up to let the kids out the door. They found out you got peanuts on there. Woo, you're doing serious time there, man. Max Wedge, Dick Dastardly. Good to see you, my friend. Somewhere I've still got a 6-pack of unopened Billy beer. oh, oh, that stuff is nasty. When it was brand new, that was skunk beer anyway. But yeah, I don't know why it never opened, or uh, it yeah, it just saved them. I don't know where the heck they are, but it's a whole 6-pack. Still got the old pull top can. You remember those old pull tops? And you take a whole bunch of them and you make beer chains out of them. You bend a little tab over to the next one and you make a big long chain out of it. That is my favorite engine of all times, right there. The 430 Super Marauder dual carb, because that's the super. Yeah. One of these days, I will own one. You came real close there, Mike. You had the Marauder, the 430 Marauder. And I'll tell you what, that thing, even with that slush box automatic in there, 1959 Ultra slush box Fordomatic or Cruise-O-Matic. I forget what, it don't matter. They're all garbage. That car would move. You couldn't keep the tires on it. You lay into it, wow, she would light right off. It was in a 59, wasn't a Park Lane, 59 Mercury. Big Mercury, big four-door Mercury. Let's see, get caught back up here. There we go. Hagberg's Corner. Great to see you, man. So now the beer is lager. Or Pilsner. Probably all lager. I don't know. I quit drinking, pretty near 20 years ago. I also want to mention the Naval Air Museum in Pensacola, Florida. You got to see that as well. The engines there are unbelievable. I sure would. One of these days, I'm going to get to Florida, to your side of Florida, up in the peninsula there. Like I was telling you before, I got two really good friends that live up your way, or down your way from me. They retired and they moved to that area. I still have that boat big Ford engine in it. Need to see what it is. You got a boat with a big Ford in it? Woo, doggy. That could you could be sitting on some Ford gold right there. With any luck, what it'll be is the Berkeley Ford, 460 Berkeley, and they are, yeah, get her done. Dove Sea heads, right from the factory. It's got a if it is a Berkeley Ford, it's got the Cobra Jet cam in it, the big intake, not Cobra Jet size, but it is the bigger Ram style intake. There it flows the same as an Edelbrock RPM intake, but it's heavy. It's cast iron, so it's already got that. It's already got flat top pistons in it, so she'll be running about 10.5 to 1 compression. Oh, yeah. Berkeley Ford engines. Every time I see a boat come up for sale, I look to see if it's a Ford power, because that is a good place to find some Ford gold. And then from that platform, you can build anything. And it's internal balanced as well. The short deck block like the 429, and the early 460s. Super Marauder debuted in '58, set record for most powerful V8 in the world, 400 factory horsepower, and they Those are the old dyno numbers. You stick one on a modern dyno and you find out that it had a lot more than that. I'll bet you it was closer to 1-to-1, if not over it. The only problem with them, though, is it's a Ford Motor Company. And they took that and they stuck it in the Mercurys and the Lincolns and the Edsels. And all three of those never came with a standard transmission. But they also stuck it in the Thunderbird. You could order it in the Thunderbird in 1959 with a standard. But good God Almighty, that bell housing alone is going to set you back big bucks. So trying to adapt a standard transmission to a 430 male, not the easiest in the world. Now that it's warming up, I'm done helping everyone else. It's time now to get my stuff ready for the air. Sweet. I would. You got it right there. I'll bet you dimes for dollars you're sitting on a little bit of Ford gold right there. You don't have to do hardly nothing except for clean that thing up. And yeah, you got one heck of a good little it's a 460. And it's made to turn at what, 4,600 RPM all day long, for a jet boat, for a boat. It's what we used in our monster truck. That's what powered our monster truck, was a Berkeley Ford. Well, it was supposed to power the monster truck. We actually had two 460s. One of them was just an internal balanced regular 71 to 77 block, D1 block. They're the mid deck. They're okay. They're still a good one, but they're internal balanced. But anyway, we had two engines. We had the good one, which was the Berkeley block, and then we had that one, which was the backup engine. And we'd run the Thumper, our monster truck. We'd run it for about 2-3 years, and because we're on and off the throttle so much, it would wear out the thrust bearings. The engine, when we'd pull the engine and freshen it up, the bearings looked great, except for the thrust side on the crank. It would just wear them out like no tomorrow because of all the weight on the truck and everything. And you're out there putting on a show for everybody, so you're doing a lot of whop, 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 whop with the throttle, and that just wham, 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 slams that crank in there. And so about every 2-3 years, we'd pull that engine out, put the other engine in, and then come back in the wintertime when the season and the circuit is all over with, and then we'd rebuild the spare engine and then run it until it needed to be, the other one needed swapped out, and we'd swap them out and run it for the next season. Well, when we ended up selling the truck, the Berkeley happened to be in the basement of the shop. So that's one that we used for Sir Rat, our dually rat rod. After we sold the monster truck, we got that Berkeley Ford there that needed something to do, so we built a rat rod around it. Speaking of mail, there's Max Wedge, because that's what a mail is. That's what a 430 mail is. It's a Max Wedge Ford. And the way I understand it is the guy that developed the mail actually went over and started working for Chrysler and that's when that all expanded. The way I understand it, there was a lot of that going on. They didn't steal ideas from each other. The guy that designed it got a better offer from somebody else, so he went on over there and they built their own version of it. Kind of like the mouse. Everybody says, "Oh, Bill Gates stole that from Steve Jobs." No, Bill Gates paid the guy that invented the computer mouse and actually paid him a good salary. Steve Jobs didn't pay squat. So the guy that invented the computer mouse got pissed off and went to work for Windows. I get caught back. Like I said, I get to yakking and I get the chat as lagging. Sorry about that. Those males in the 410, the 410 and the 462 are a little bit different. A 410 is it's a 390 rods with a 428 crank, and it was only offered for like 2-3 years in the Mercury. It's a D-stroked 428 FE. So that one's kind of that one's an FE, I know. The 430 and the 462, yeah, that's when they went way tall on the deck and they actually dropped compression. The 462s in stock form, they're great. They've got massive torque, huge torque. And I believe they're only in the Lincolns. The 462 is only Lincoln. But the 430 had a lot more horsepower and more torque than the 462. The 462 was just a smooth, nice running, quiet, doesn't shake, won't shake the cigar off of the ashtray engine. But yeah, torque for days. The old guy that owns the old junkyard that me and cousin Mike go to all the time, he used to race, drag race, a 430 Super Marauder. He started out with a Y block, and he did everything he could to the Y block, and finally got his hands on a 430 male, and then, holy cow, he said there was no looking back after that. He started doing that after he got home from Korea. He was a tank driver in Korea. And what do you do when you're done hot rodding around in the Patton and the Sherman tanks? You grab you an old jalopy and you horseshoe the biggest engine you can into it and you go drag race. Wasn't the early Hemi the first V8 to accomplish the one back in 55? No, it was actually the small block Chevy. The fuel injection one in 57 was the first to go 1 horsepower for every cube. And because they did it with the fuel injection, there was controversy over that. So Chevy got with Victor Edelbrock to develop an intake that would do it just carbureted and set a goal for 1-for-1. And Victor developed the true, in my opinion, the true 6-pack for the small block Chevy. Everybody has seen it. It's got 6 2-barrel Strombergs. The 2 logs on each side with 3 carbs on each. And that was the first carbureted but it wasn't a production vehicle to do for one. And that launched Edelbrock into the mainstream as the aftermarket company. The story of Victor Edelbrock is actually really cool. My front clutch drum has a weird mark on the band surface, 3/4 around. Looks like it's peeling off. The front clutch drum? Huh. Barely feel it though. Don't know about using it. I don't know. That sounds kind of weird. There you go. Time to get old John Cope on the phone. How's it going, John? Great to see you. .283 dual quad. Was it the dual quad that did it? I thought it was the fuel injected. .283 though. Speaking of which, we had a 57 Chevy wagon, 4-door wagon, that was actually fuel injected. The engine wasn't in it. There was no engine and transmission in the car when we got it, but it was a fuel injection car. It had the emblem. And it was the fancy Bel Air, the one with the gold anodized grill and the gold anodized accents in the chrome. Had title troubles on it though, if I remember right. And my dad ended up selling it to a good friend of ours, and he used it for parts for his 57. So he made a clone of the injected 57. He had another standard one. I think it was a straight 6 car. And he just transferred everything over onto it, all the trim, all that stuff. Yeah. The fuel injected 327. And it was the Corvette Fuelie one. Fuel injected Corvette one. If you ever have a chance to look down in the fuel injected camel hump heads, they are beautiful. They're just a sight to behold. The mill was kept around and modified to an industrial and fire truck engine to 540. All the way to 540. I know the 460 was too. It actually from the factory goes all the way to 516. But they're big, like B&R saying here, they're big industrial, either stationary or special application engines. Sometimes you'll find them in big box trucks, like big Ford F950 or 850, 750, big box trucks. Every once in a while you run into them in there. But they're total torque engines. They're nothing like what Jeff from Tuhack's garage built. Not even on the same planet. Because the 460 is actually designed to go up to that much stroke and that much cubic inch. That's what it was slated for to end at. They started it with a 427. Then all they did is just increase the stroke a little so they don't have to redesign the whole block. And then they got it up to 460. The next step was 512. But then fuel injection came in, and, well, the old reliable went away, and they sacrificed it in favor of the modular engines. According to Google, the 56300 made the first 1-for-1, huh? Huh. The 283. 327. What year was the first 327? It was a small journal. Was it 60? What year was it? But it's the small bore 327. Shop 209 would know. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, go check him out. He kind of specializes in novas, but good Lord, he is one cool guy. But he does a lot. Everything about a small block Chevy. Oh, he knows more than he's forgot more than I'll ever learn. My uncle had a 57 convertible 283, had fuel injection emblems, but it was a dual quad. That's usually what they did. It was that old Rochester fuel injection was ultra complicated in its simplicity, and there was only a few people that knew how to keep them running. So generally speaking, most all of them, they pulled it off and they stuck the dual quad on it or whatever. The old mechanical fuel injection, it was either really good or really bad. I worked on a natural gas Ford 540 in a factory local. Backup engine when electric power went out. Yeah. Turn a 10,000 pound, 100,000 pound steel drum full of molten glass. It had twin 6-inch exhaust stacks. I'll bet you that thing just sounded great when you fired. What was it? The starter engines for the B-52 bombers was two 429 Fords that they would roll up on a cart, and then they used those to start those big bomber engines. That would have been cool. Here, two 429s just open up like that. And the PBR, I think it's still on record as the U.S. Navy's fastest river patrol boat was the PBR back in Vietnam in the brown water Navy. And that thing had, again, two 429 Fords back there pushing that thing. And that boat would haul butt. You see it in Apocalypse Now. That boat has got two 429 Fords in it. The story was the guy that was a smuggler, and he was fixing up boats to outrun the Coast Guard. And when they caught him, he he helped develop that to help get him out of trouble. Should have heard that beast smell 540 start. I'll bet. I've got one of those distributors for a governor like that. It was off a truck though. It's got the dual vacuum ports. One of them goes to the governor side and the other one pulls for vacuum advance. And it uses that to kind of help govern it. The entire factory shook. It'd be fun to get a hold of one of them. The Mel's, if I remember right, it's a different, knowing Ford, it definitely is a different bolt pattern on the dadgum bell housing. Oh, how many bell housing patterns does Ford have? That's a real easy answer. All you got to do is look somebody right in the eye and say all of them, every one of them. That's how many bolt patterns that Ford used, all of them. Ah, cool, functional. Throwing some graffiti up on the wall, huh? Hey, there's the other Blake. What's going on, Bad Tree? Heathens unite. Spring has sprung. I hope it sprung down your way too. Actually, our spring is supposed to spring tomorrow. I think we get all the way up to 58 degrees tomorrow. I can't wait. Five and a quarter bore spacing, Super Duty, big job Ford engines from 59 onwards. I was the first senior for 40 years. I set the mechanical valve lash on that 540. It was badass cool. Like I said, it'd be interesting what bell housing pattern they had on it. Oh, I can't remember if the 462, the latter 462s shared the same bell as the 385s or not. According to my vintage Shinton's manual, 1957 283 dual quad, 270 horsepower fuel injection, 283. They might be right. I was always told it was the 283 Chevy that went 1-for-1 though. Hmm. But yeah, it was the fueling that achieved it. '62. Okay, there we go. '62 was the first year of the Fuelie 327. Hey, Dizzy. Great to see you, my friend. Is that a pair of underwear up there? Up where? Oh, you mean right there? Oh no, that's my little granddaughter's little onesie. She's going to be my new little helper, but it's going to take her a little while to get old enough and big enough and strong enough for her parents to let her come on up here to Idaho so I can set her on fire. I'll go to Air Gas and get a little bitty little welding helmet for her, yeah, and a good set of welding gloves, and get her. My goal is to have her laying her first bead before she can go to kindergarten. We'll see if it happens. Good to see you, Philip. Thanks a million for coming in. We'll catch up with you next week. Old fuel injection looked cool, even with tennis balls on the little chains. Yeah, that's the Hillborns. Yeah, they're crazy. Well, they run on the same principle though. The problem with it though is it didn't automatically adjust. So you get it adjusted in right, it was right for right now. But if it changed a little bit, yeah, you had to get out and you had to change it a little bit. That's why it took so long for fuel injection to actually catch on for drivers and regular cars. Once they put the computer in it, the computer, as much as I hate it, it does work wonders on a fuel injection system. Ed's Machine, great to see you, man. But I'll tell you what, there ain't nothing more simple than a mechanical injection, especially in a diesel motor. That is just beyond simple. It's your timing, your fuel source, everything all in one. You want to adjust your timing? You just move the injector pump a little. It depends on which one it wants to throw the fuel to first. And when it wants to send it to it. It's all done with pressure. And the old, what do they call them, pencil injectors that are super simple. All they are is just a pressure relief valve, and they're set to whatever the pressure is. And when that pressure hits it and it builds up, it just blows and throws it in there and lights it. I was actually scared to work on a diesel because I had no idea of anything about them until I actually got into them, found out just how simple they are. Mechanical. Not talking about injection, no computer stuff. Mechanical injected diesels. They're beyond simple. Now we get caught back up here again. And just like any Sunday, I got the link posted up over here somewhere, as if up at the top of the chat. If anybody wants to hop on in, just click that little button, hop on in. We'll talk about anything or anything. Yesterday, me and Landon got the joys of we got to meet another fellow YouTuber. Can't say who he was because it's kind of on the down low until he gets back home. But we had a good time. Went over to a fairly good restaurant down in Pocatello and had supper with him. Great time. And he said it. He said, "I know you're a Ford guy," so he gave me something. I said, "Well, I'm not really a Ford guy." You just see me working on a lot of Fords right now. But it really got me to thinking on what really is my favorite car. And, I really can't tell you. Honestly, I don't like any of them. I like all of them, but I don't like them all in one combination. I love the small block Chevy for its simplicity, affordability. If you're doing this for pennies on ponies, you cannot beat a small block Chevy, no matter how hard you try. The 302 Ford is very close to it, but the small block Chevy, all the way. That's why they put the small block Chevy in everything, because it's easy. Mopar, I actually like Mopar engines. I really like the Mopar engines. And my favorite muscle car is actually Mopar, the four-eyed Cuda. And the Charger, 68 Charger. Yeah, it's just a good looking car. But I don't like the K member. I despise that K member. Yeah, so what's a good price for a 400 horsepower small block Chevy with aluminum heads and a roller rocker cam? If you're looking to buy it as little as you can get it for. uh, and oh, this is good. Uh, and it's a primary reason why I have got to get off my butt and make that run stand. I've learned over the years that the only way you can sell an engine is if it's in the car. If it's not in the car, it's a core. If you can't hear it run, I don't know. I really can't tell you what to spend for it. If you've heard it run, that's big. That's a whole different story. But yeah, that's why I got to get off my butt and get that interchangeable run stand. By interchangeable, I mean you can put any engine on it and transmission, because some engines you got to have the transmission to put the starter on. And not only that, I want to make a run stand that you can load test. By load test, I mean on an automatic, you put it in gear and hold your foot on the brake, have somebody sit in the car, put it in gear and just put it in drive, reverse, whatever, and just hold your foot on the brake. And then you set the carb for load. I want to do an engine stand that'll also do that. You only have to do it for an automatic car. For when it's setting under load, you adjust the timing and the carburetor, the idle and everything, set up for load. But the biggest reason for wanting to build that run stand is that right there. I got a lot of engines around here that, yeah, I wouldn't mind selling. But how do I sell them? I ain't got no way to make them run for the guy, and I don't want to sell them for core price. And if it's outside of the car and you can't hear it run, I don't know. You really take a gamble just buying them. I hope that answered it, and I hope I didn't squirrel over on it too much. But in general, about 500 bucks, I'd say, is a start. That's starting, and then take it up from there. And also where you're at here, we're inundated with them. So yeah, even running ones, well, we're getting for like 500 bucks stock running ones. Yeah, about 500 is high water mark for a bone stock running one. Oh, you do have a run stand, huh? Now, on run stand, I know a couple of guys that have bought them. Well, Vernon, he just bought one. He was going to put it in a 69 Impala. But He paid $4,000 for it, but it was on the run stand. He heard it run, all of that stuff, and it was it was all out. Had AFR heads on it. Oh Lord, I could go through a plethora of parts. Came with the nitrous plate. It wasn't installed, but it had the nitrous plate, MSD box. Oh, I could go through a whole rigmarole of all the parts, and it was already set up for alcohol. But he paid $4,000 for that one, which is still a heck of a deal because the heads alone on that, you know, they were worth quite a bit of money. Yeah, $50. Does it come with free delivery? Hey, road trip. Let's go on. Let's go on up and meet JD down there, or down there and meet him. He's only 8, 9, about 9 hours away, and we can swing on in and say hi to Tony's garage in the same on the same trip. By run stand, does that mean with everything, cooling, exhaust, dash, and tack? Uh, it's just like it's like an engine stand with a radiator on it, so you can set the engine down in it and fire it up and let it run without actually being in a car. Makes them so easier, much easier to tune and get all ready. And like I said, you can, if you got just an engine laying around somewhere, you can throw it on the run stand, fire it up. The person that wants to buy it, they can hear it, they can see it, you know, everything. And it's real nice to have the engine, especially cam brake in and all that. Especially a cam brake in, because if something goes wrong, you don't have to pull it all back out of the car again. It's already right there. So if a cam fail is going to happen, it's best to do it on the run stand where it's nice and easy to fix it after. But that, what, 2,000 RPM for 20 minutes? Yeah, it makes your toes a curl a whole bunch. 12 hours? Yeah, I know we're not too far away. There's the real BRG. What's going on, man? Great to see you. I see you're coming along pretty good. That exhaust that you got, the tractor pull, truck pull exhaust, or derby car exhaust, they use them, you know, just the headers that go straight up. I almost decided to go that route on mine, but I still want to drive mine on the street, and I'm pushing it as it is. Tell you the truth, if a cop really wanted to get serious, I could probably get ticketed driving mine on the street, because I'm so high. That tunnel ram and everything is so high. It actually does kind of block the vision a little bit on that side. And I figured if I run the headers straight up there too, I'm cutting off a lot of windshield real estate. So I better pump the brake a little on that idea. But it looks really good, man. It's looking extremely good. I see my future potential run stand sounds like a wood stand. Yeah, I haven't seen ASO lately. We didn't get back till kind of late last night, and I had a whole bunch of other stuff I had to do. But when I woke up this morning, I seen that he was going to do a live yesterday. I hope he's doing better. If you're out there, ASO, we're pulling for you, man. Hang in there and keep your chin way high. Every time he'd call me on the phone, I'd answer it, hey, how about you, Alabama? Roll on. This is one of my favorite Alabama songs. That's how it opens up. You drove him into town today, huh? Couldn't see crap. Oh. Yeah, but everybody went by, seen that smile from ear to ear, I'll bet you. Yeah, that's the hard thing too about if it's an engine you built, and it sounds like it is one that you've put a lot of time and blood and sweat and tears on it. It's hard to sell them that way. The ones I got around here, they're all, oh man, I just looked outside, snowing, big flake. It's starting to snow. Dadgummit. I'm done with winter. I don't want to play no more. Anyway, the engines I got out there, they're all pretty much stock stuff that I've had around in. Uh, Not high dollar stuff at all. But if I put time into it and got some money into it, yeah, I think you're better off that way. And that little small block will slide down into that lark so easy. It's almost like they're made for it. What was that channel name that had Mopar Mighty Mouse Truck? That was Travis's Mopar. He changed the name to Travis's Manic Garage for a little while, but he changed it back to Travis's Mopar. The truck is long gone, though. It was a little 80, 88, 89 little Dodge D50 truck with a 302 Ford in it. But he didn't have it very long. He actually sold that little Mighty Mouse truck. Or wait, it was a Mitsubishi Mighty Mouse. Mighty Max. Mighty Max. Yeah. And that's why he called it. But it's the same thing as a Dodge little bitty D50 truck. I build and sell for some extra cash. Had no issues selling until this one. Huh. I did the same thing. When I can. I don't like to get rid of anything. I just come out and say it. Yeah, I don't like to get rid of anything. It just piles up. I have sold quite a few, bought, sold, trade, all that. A lot of trade work. Not work, not work. I learned the hard way. I do not trade my work. I trade my work for green. I'm a very green person when it comes to my work. I like that green stuff with dead presidents on it. Or non-presidents. I take non-presidents too. You know, Ben Franklin was never a president, but by golly, I'll take some of them greenbacks. That's how I do my part for the environment. I'm a very green-minded person when it comes to my work, because I have gotten burnt so many times doing trade work from work, and that just, yeah. I still got a 56, yeah, 56 Ford truck that was I did the work for, and never got the truck. It was a F, wasn't an F500, would have been an F400. It was an old welding truck, mobile welding truck. In fact, it had a Chrysler Flat 6 hooked to the generator in the back that run the welder. Oh, I tried working for gold. Yeah, that don't work. I'm the most unluckiest prospector you ever did meet. The only gold I find in the stream is a bear pissing up on upstream just a little bit. I have to get rid of stuff. I want to know what it is to be at the bottom of all the piles of the junk. Yeah, I hear you. Problem is, I find use for everything. And I hate going to the scrapyard, or not scrapyard, to the recycling. When you take everything in for scrap weight and you barely make enough for gas money to get there and back. Yeah. And it goes through my head every time I do that, that I might need a chunk of 1/4 inch steel that big, and I just threw away a piece this big that just had a little paint on it. I could have cut that out and saved myself a whole bunch of money. So it sits out back underneath the Quonset and, yeah, gathers dirt and rust for the next 30 years before I actually get off my butt and get out there and plasma cut it out and actually use it. But in the time being, it's out there till I need it. Hey, Annabella, always good to see you. What's going on? Sure, appreciate you coming in. Over in Western Tennessee, right? I found a antique industrial French fry cutter the other day in the garage. Really? Is it one of the wall mount ones or the counter mount ones? I broke mine. Well, it finally wore out. It was a cheaper one anyway, but it was a counter mount one. But uh, it was a modern, I guess you could say a modern potato cutter. It would only take 120s. Good Lord, you know I live in Idaho. 120 is the size of potato. It takes 120 of them to make 50 pounds. So they're the small ones that you get, you know, in the little 5-pound bags. They're about that big. Yeah, there's my brother. I don't know if you heard that. Every time he drives by, he drives truck for a trucking outfit just up the road from me. Every time he goes by, he honks. But anyway, that's how they classify potatoes. It's the number is how many of them it takes to make 50 pounds. And that little French fry cutter I had was only for 120s. It just took the little potatoes. Counter, but the blade end is missing, huh? Ah, bummer. That's kind of an intricate blade setup, too. Yep, that's the sign of a fabrication shop right there. Why? Because we know the value of steel. And when you're right in the middle of a project and you need a little gusset that's this big, just a little gusset, or you can take off for what, 45 minutes into town, 45 minutes back, that's an hour and a half. And while you're in town, because it's 45 minutes away, you're going to stop and pick up anything else that you might need. So you got what, 3 hours before you get back and get your project done for one little piece of metal about that big. So nah, you keep that stuff around so you can just reach over there, pull it out of the pile. Okay, I'll just cut that piece, stick it in there and weld it up, and done, you're out. I'm a russet guy. I'm not, I'm from Perth. The next town over in Shelley, their mascot was the russet. The poor cheerleaders out there that, the mascots, theirs was a potato. Guy out there running around as a potato. The Shelley Russets. And that was our high school rival. We were the Cougars. So anytime we'd play shell, oh Lord, and it back in my days, it was right around it was our generation. When our generation ended, a lot of this stuff ended. But when homecoming, when we played Shelley for our homecoming game, yeah, let's just say you didn't want to be anywhere near the parking lot because in farm country, when a fight breaks out at the high school, there's a high chance that shovels are going to be swung because every pickup out there has got a shovel in it, because on the way home they got to stop and change water. So boy, we had some downright true rumbles out there in the high school parking lot. The Shelley kids would show up and it was a game on. And then the football team would all show up for the game the next day, and everybody's got beat up and black eyes. And I seen a restaurant guy on YouTube that made his fries by shooting them through a grate with a potato gun. Those PVC guns, they run on. I've seen them on compressed air, and they also used to use what was that aerosol deodorant? One of them was extremely flammable. They probably don't make. I think it was Right Guard. Don't ask me how I know. You fill the chamber full of that, and then you stand back like this, and you hit it with the lighter, and boom, and shoot that potato for 200-300 yards. BareRose, thank you for the like. No problem, 162. I enjoy listening and working in the shop at the same time. I have to go now, getting ready to do some center console videos. Sweet. Everyone take care. Always great seeing you, man. I'm glad you're having some fun out there knocking that metal around and making it custom. If it's custom, you know you got pride in it. You did it. Hairspray? Yeah, we used to use Aquanet. Why? Because the can was about that tall. And boy, that stuff was flammable. Oh, just ask Michael Jackson how flammable that stuff is. I think Pepsi's still paying him money. We used White Rain hairspray. Did that work good? Oh Lord, I won't get demonetized, lose the channel talking about this stuff, but you know what? Let's talk about it. It's all fun. I had a friend that worked at the foundry, and he took a piece of 2-inch steel shaft, a solid shaft steel, and he at the foundry they had all the cool stuff. He was able to mill that out the same size as a marble, and he milled it all the way down about that far, just long enough you could stick a black cap firecracker in the other end of it. And then he threaded it and stuck a bolt on the end of it and drilled a hole through that bolt for a plug, is what it made, for the fuse on the black cap firecracker to come out of. And you'd hold it in your hand, stick a firecracker in there, screw it all back on, stick a marble in it, and light it. Holy smoke, that thing would, yeah, it'd shoot a marble through a street sign. My family cannot drink vodka, have way too much fun, and don't remember. Yes, it was amazing how far in the woods that potato would go. I was just a kid and still wish I had it today. Yeah, that marble gun cannon was the same thing. He ended up making little wheels for it. He found some wagon wheels at the hobby shop, for like, I don't know, decorations or wagons or whatever. But he actually made it into like a little field artillery cannon. It was pretty cool. And the spud guns and everything. Yeah, that was fun growing up in them years. But anyway, he was a good friend of my stepdad. He was a lot older. Good Lord, I was pretty young then. They never let me hold it to light it. Ah, looks like insurance wants to get a hold of me. Have you renewed your auto warranty? I don't know. On which one? The 58 or the 59? Or the 68? That warranty is probably getting pretty close to running out on that 68. That ponders the eternal question. If a potato gets launched in the woods and there is a chick to launch it, does it hit a tree? Huh. I don't know. We'll have to revisit that one. I had a friend who made an air cannon to shoot half sticks with it. Went high, huh? For us, it was beer cans, tennis balls, and lighter fluid. You you take a can, soda can, beer can, whatever, and you cut the bottom of it out, or not the bottom, you cut the top of it out where you opened it, and then you stick it in a pie tin with a little bit of water in it, and you poke a hole in the top of it and stick the firecracker in it, and you set it down in the water, and the water would seal it, and then you light the firecracker off, and boom, that sucker would shoot straight in the air for quite a ways. It was our own 4th of July fireworks with a pie tin, a little bit of water, and an old soda pop can or beer can, whatever we found in the gutter. Usually it was a Shasta red cream or cream soda can or cola. Shasta. Good Lord. Do they even still make Shasta? That was the stuff you could get for like a case of it for $1 or something back in the 80s and the 70s. I may have launched a hairnet can for my potato gun, like a mortar. The other game we used to play way back then too was mailbox basketball. It's a lot more friendly than baseball that you see like on when you drive along and you smack somebody's mailbox with a baseball bat. That's destructive. But we go along and try to throw a empty beer can or soda can or whatever out of a moving car and hit a mailbox. That was that we called it the mailbox basketball, because if you could hit it, you got 2 points. And it didn't hurt the mailbox. We used to take apart old Tester's Model D rocket engines. Oh, yeah, the Model Ds. That's the big ones. Yeah, I know what you're talking about here. And mixed with 12 gauge shotgun shell power. Seal it off in a pipe with a wick. Leave a huge hole indentation in the ground. We used to take those Model D rocket engines, and I'd build model cars, and then you put them on an axle so they'll actually roll, and we stick that Model Ds down in the stuck it down in the back window and light that sucker off and see how far we could send them little cars. Holy cow, that was a lot of fun. Oh boy, that brings back memories there, BNR. Got into model rockets kind of briefly, but then we found out that those the model rocket engines, boy, they were fun in all kinds of other stuff. uh, Engine Light Garage, always great to see you, man. Thanks for coming on in. And 6%. Spray starch works well for that. It does. That and coffee creamer. Wow. Once that stuff goes, look out. We did crazy stuff in the 80s. Oh Lord, yeah, we did. Oh, in the late 70s, early 80s. God, I loved growing up back then. This guy went out with the big bang. Nationwide news leveled the guy's house. Woo! That's not good. Yeah, we didn't build half pipes back then. for our BMX bikes and dirt bikes and that, we had a canal, and it made the perfect half pipe. And good night, we had there was a couple of spots that went straight up, and boy, you could launch straight off of that. Started it with the bicycles because that was a little tamer, but then yeah, the kids with a little more money, they used to do it with dirt bikes. In fact, before they put water back in the canal, I went by it about 4 days ago and just glanced over the edge, and you can kind of see where our old half pipe, our little town's hangout place was, and it was at the canal, doing stupid, crazy things on our dirt bikes and go-karts and bicycles. One of these days, I'll do a video on it. Once the water comes in the canal, though, then we had to go find other places to hurt ourselves. Showing off for the girls. Oh, Lord, true there, JD. I'll tell you what, if YouTube would have been around back then, it would have been worth the pain, because somebody could, at least some of us could have made a little bit of money at it. But it was all in fun. And of all the crazy stuff we did, actually nobody got hurt. And there you go. Yep. Well, back then you wouldn't have. But nowadays, yeah. We had half pipes for the BMX. I remember when that first came in, all that freestyle BMX riding. Like a good friend of mine, oh Lord, he was actually pretty good at it, and he was starting to get recognized. He had a Kuahara BMX bike. It was all aluminum frame. Back in the day, it was like ultra light little bicycle. But man, he destroyed that bike, and it was expensive. Mine was a Golden Eagle it was a offshoot of Schwinn, but it was a heavy bike. But it was a BMX. We had lots of fun with toys that freak out today's. Oh Lord, yeah. I remember I had the original. I had the original X-wing from Star Wars, and the original TIE fighter, and Battlestar Galactica. I had what do they call those? Oh, the good guy ships, and one of the Cylon ships. But they were the original ones because they took the little plastic. They come in red and green, little plastic little things that you loaded up into them, and you hit a button and they'd shoot each other with them. Those things got yanked off the market. I think they was only out for a few years, and they pulled all of that stuff. Good Lord, Battlestar Galactica. Whew. We used to ride around on our bicycles playing that as kids, way back. Most of them are either military rocket scientists or aerospace engineers. and the physical side of innovation was booming back then. Uh, when cell phones and computers and all this technical age took over, have you noticed, just like I have, that the technical, physical, you touch it innovation stuff has kind of gone backwards? We need to go back to the physical, and the electronical it's good, but it's swung too far over onto the pendulum. We need to come back over and bring it into balance with things. Best BMX I had was my other very good friend. In fact, he was best man at all three of my weddings. He had a red line, a Ron Osborne design. Yep. The KDX 200, huh? I'm not familiar with that one. Wow. Boy, bringing back some flood of memories. Good Lord. Yeah, $770 in 1986. Yeah. And $2.85 an hour. That was actually like regular. Yeah. 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 I get you. And I was a paper boy as well. Actually, the BMX makes a really good paperboy bicycle because of the crossbar on the handlebars. You throw your paper bag up over it and it hangs off of both sides like this, so you can pedal and you got papers on each side. Except for I couldn't throw them. The post register wouldn't allow you to throw them. You had to actually put them in a box. I did the same thing, saved up all that money and oh, wasted it. Almost bought a 53 DeSoto Fire Dome coupe with that paper route money though, but I've already told that story. But my dad talked me out of it. Instead of I got a 61, 62 Volkswagen Bug. It's the same price. Dad, if you're watching, you still owe me a Hemi. And the Hemi ran and the Volkswagen didn't. That little 1200, it was the smallest Volkswagen engine they had, was in pieces and in the back seat. And that Hemi ran. It was a DeSoto Hemi. John Wilburn's got one. I never will let my dad live that down. All that car needed was the driver's side window, door glass window was spider cracked. Wasn't falling out, it was just spider cracked. And that flat glass is cheap. It's real cheap. You have that custom cut, easy, send it, you're on your road again. But it needed that and a 6-volt battery. That's all that car needed, and a tank of gas. And my dad talked me out of it. Kind of glad he did though, because he said, well, I was too young to even have a driver's license at the time. But he said, no kid is going to have a Hemi. You're going to wreck this car, and they haven't made DeSotos since 1963. You're not taking that car. So I got the Volkswagen. And then the Volkswagen sat in the backyard for a long, long time, and a farmer up the way up the way needed a barn tore down. So I tore down his barn, and he gave me a 72, 73 Pinto sedan. the ones with the little trunk, not the hatchback. And that was actually what I consider my first car because I drove it home and blew it up in the driveway the same day doing burnouts. That was the first running car I ever owned, the first car I ever drove home, first car I ever blew up, and the first car I ever rebuilt. So, yeah, like I said, nobody comes in and joins me in here. I'll just ramble right on forever. Ain't that the truth? Oh, and when I blew it up, my stepmom said, "Ah, what did you do? Oh, you killed that car." I tell you the truth, I kind of did it on purpose because it was dying anyway. It smoked so bad on the way home. Oh, it had so much blow by. I don't think any fuel was going in. I think it was burning it in the valve cover. that valve cover was my combustion chamber. Oh, it was dead. It barely made it home, but so what are you got to do with it? I'm going to rebuild it anyway. So I doing burnouts and out in front of the shop, blew it up. My dad, he just laughed because he did the same thing with a 52 Buick. It was his first car too. Same day he got it home, and he didn't even tell me this story until after this. So I wasn't copying him, and almost the same driveway. I did it right in front of the shop driveway. The house driveway is over on the other side. Sure enough, when he was a kid, before he even had a driver's license, driving that Buick home, he it just had a straight 6 in it, not the straight 8, but he blew it up right out in front of the driveway. And that was the first car he ever did, the first car he ever rebuilt, and everything. So that was the car that started his career, and mine happened to be a Ford Pinto. And I've always had a soft spot for the Pinto, and actually now the Mustang too. I'm actually I like the Mustang too. Knowing now what I didn't know then. When I was growing up though, the Pinto, the Mustang 2s, you could buy them for $100, $50 still running. I mean, they were throwaway cars. Those and the Datsun B210 bombers, the 210 little sedan things. Good Lord, they were everywhere and they were dirt cheap. Oh, we used to play demolition derby on the street with Datsun B210s. Just they you didn't bother fixing them because there was another one for cheaper than what it was for a fuel pump. So you'd drive it until it died, and you just kept going with more of them. And then pretty soon you had about 4 of them, so you'd use those 4 to keep one of them going. And by the time you strip one down to nothing, you sell it to your buddy because he needs something else off of it. And then, okay, then you use that money to go out and buy another one. Oh, B210 Datsuns. Oh, love those are fun little cars. The full size tanks from the 70s. They were fun, yeah. Oldsmobile 350 and Chevy's small block 350 and many Ford LTDs, hard to kill. Yep, in high school I drove I started with a 74 Thunderbird from that. Yeah, the big boat 70s. And then I ended in a 77. And I had a 76 Mustang 2, called it the White Bitch. That was the first car I got pulled over in. Not because I was going too fast, because the cop pulled me over because it was smoking. He thought it was on fire. No, it wasn't on fire. It's funny. I said, "You think it smokes bad out there? You should try riding in here." Because again, it had so much blow by that it would just boil up under the dash and come out of all the defroster vents and everything. Oh, it would, yeah. Had an automatic in it. Oh, talk about a dog car. But that one, I pulled that engine out, put another engine in it. Actually, when I sold my Pinto, I kept the engine and I put it in that car shortly after that. And I drove that back and forth to night school. There for a while, I was going to day school. Then I had a little part-time job at the Spud House cleaning the flues. And that's why I will never eat Pringles potato chips, or McDonald's French fries, or any processed potato, because I used to work in the flume where the processed potatoes go. And yeah, after they boil it and cook it and process it and make it into flake, you can use it, but those are nasty, rotten spuds. And after doing that I did that for about 2 years. I cannot even look at a Pringles can without my stomach rolling, because that's the potatoes they used to use for that. They call them coal bins, coal grade, because most of them are black, black as coal. Uh, but I drove that car to day school, high school. I would do that job and then go to night school. I blew up Dad's 440 CUDA on the trailer. He told me to drain water and run it to the evap water ran out of the engine. Next spring it knocked. Oh man. Oh. I had a 78 Mach 1. Yeah, when they were around, I hated those cars. All right, I can't say I hated them. They were a nothing car. You know, now now I could do something with one of them. A little bit like a Volare front guards, only a Datsun B210. The whole car was rust. and that little Datsun B210, it's not actually a bad looking car, for it. In those early years, the Japanese models, they kind of looked a little weird, but the Datsun had a little style to it. I always said they kind of looked like a Maverick, like a Ford Maverick that was just a little shorter. If you could imagine a shorter Maverick, those things are tiny as it is. We loved the muscle Mopars, but everything kept blowing them up, doing burnouts. Hey, there he is. Auto Salvage. We were just talking about you a little while ago. Great to see you, man. Hope you're doing better. Like I said, just keep your chin well up high. the 210, the car broke. Brock showed Carol what's up with. Oh, really? They're ultra lightweight. And you couldn't afford a 240 or 280Z. Those were unattainium prices. And nobody was just, get this out of my yard and you can have it. Mow my yard and you can have that car over there. The Datsun Z cars, they didn't say that. But if they had an old 210, I actually got one of them that way. I think that was a 210. No, I take it back. That was a Toyota Tercel that I turned right around and sold it. Got it running. Let's see, I got it running and I replaced one brake. I was a dumb kid. Yeah, do a brake job. Yeah, just do one. It's the only one that needs it. Just do one. Oh, Lord. Anyway, pulled that out of my stepdad's landlady's house, and I'd go over there and mow her yard. And when I did our yard, I'd go over and mow their yard too, just because. And she gave me that little car. It was a Toyota Tercel. Like I said, I just cleaned it up, vacuumed it up, then sitting in the weeds forever. Replaced one brake. Never do that. Just do both sides. Anyway, and sold that to buy another V210. And I don't remember what I did with that. I bought and sold a lot of those. Mad Max vintage Mopars in the 1980s, running strong, were highly prized. Ah, seen that. He's up and alive again. Oh, no. That's not good there, Auto Salvage. Like I said, keep your chin up, man. It's only dark before the dawn. Yeah, but growing up, boy, that's how we did it. We didn't have any money. And here in Idaho, wages were really low anyway. Cost of living is very, very low as well. So it balances out. Yeah, it was nothing to buy a $500 car, $200 car, mow somebody's yard, and they give you the car. But they never did give you any of the good stuff, but they gave you the stuff that was acceptable enough. You could put a little bit of work into it, but by golly, do both brakes. If you're going to do a brake job, do both sides. Throw a little money at it and send it down the road, double your money. Do that about 3 or 4 times, and then, good Lord, it's what I'd still do to this day. Except for them heading out the yard has slowed down, and more of them come into the yard. So, yeah. Well, with that, let's see. We've been on for about 2.5 hours. Went a little over this week. But next week, I checked the weather, and it looks like we're going to be up in the 60s next week. So, knock on wood, I'm hoping to have this whole setup back out in the shop next week. And maybe you can watch me roll around in some rust and finish and finalize the engine, putting into the all hard mounted it. Well, not hard mounted, it's rubber mounted and all that, but you get what I'm saying. How I'm welding that L in and where I'm setting the engine in that 58. Hopefully you can see me all do that live next week. That's the big plan. As long as them daggum snowflakes quit falling out there, I'll be able to do it. Old cars tell stories. Amen to that. And that's why I'm a strong supporter of the patina movement, because I love to see every story that car's got to tell. And with that, like I said, we'll go ahead and close her up for this week. Great to see you, Auto Salvage. Good to see you're still out there and still swinging at it. Like I said, we're all pulling for you, man. And everybody who stopped into the chat tonight, thanks a million for coming out. We'll try to do this again next week. Who knows? I might even try to squeeze one in on Saturday. I'm not sure. Depends on when the wife has to come home from the airport. She's coming in on Saturday, so I don't know if I'll be able to have any time to do some filming then. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming out. In the meantime, get out there and try to get some metal hot. And chase these dang. Somebody turn up the thermostat for Idaho, will you? It's too late for this kind of stuff. I need some good weather. Thanks again. We'll catch y'all next week.